I am oppressed with a sense of the impropriety of uttering words on this occasion. If silence is ever golden, it must be here, beside the graves of 15,000 men whose lives were more significant than speech and whose death was a poem, the music of which can never be sung. With words we make promises, plight faith, praise virtue. Promises may not be kept. Plighted faith may be broken. And vaunted virtue be only the cunning mask of vice. We do not know one promise these men made, one pledge they gave, one word they spoke. But we do know they summed up and perfected, by one supreme act, the highest virtue of men and citizens. For love of country, they accepted death, and thus resolved all doubts and made immortal their patriotism and their virtue. For the noblest man that lives, there remains a conflict. He must still withstand the assaults of time and fortune, must still be assailed with temptations before which lofty measures have fallen. But with these, the conflict ended. The victory was won. And when death stamped on them the great seal of heroic character and closed a record which years can never blot. I know of nothing more appropriate on this occasion than to inquire what brought these men here. What high motive led them to condense life into an hour and to crown that hour by joyfully welcoming death? Let us consider. 8 years ago, this was the most unwarlike nation of the earth. For nearly 50 years, no spot in any of these states had been the scene of battle. 30 millions of people had an army of less than 10,000 men. The faith of our people in the stability and permanence of their institutions was like their faith in the eternal course of nature. Peace, liberty, and personal security were blessings as common and universal as sunshine and showers and fruitful seasons. And all sprang from a single source, the old American principle that all owe due submission and obedience to the lawfully expressed will of the majority. This is not one of the doctrines of our political system. It is the system itself. It is our political firmament in which all other truths are set as stars in heaven. It is the encasing air, the breath of the nation's life. Against this principle, the whole weight of the rebellion was thrown. Its overflow would have brought such ruin as might follow in the physical universe if the power of gravitation were destroyed and nations' concord broke. Among the constellations, war were sprung. 2 planets, rushing from aspect malign of fiercest opposition in the mid-sky should combat, and their jarring spheres confound. The nation was summoned to arms by every high motive which can aspire men. 2 centuries of freedom had made its people unfit for despotism. They must save their government or miserably perish. As a flash of lightning in a midnight tempest reveals the abysmal horrors of the sea, so did the flash of the first gun disclose the awful abyss into which rebellion was ready to plunge us. In a moment, the fire was lighted in 20 million hearts. In a moment, We were the most warlike nation on the earth. In a moment, we were not merely a people with an army. We were a people in arms. The nation was in column, not all at the front, but all in the array. I love to believe that no heroic sacrifice is ever lost, that the characters of men are molded and inspired by what their fathers have done. And now, consider this silent assembly of the dead. What does it represent? Nay, rather, what does it not represent? It is an epitome of war. If each grave had a voice to tell us what its silent tenant last saw and heard on earth, we might stand with uncovered heads and hear the whole story of the war. The voices of these dead will forever fill the land like holy benedictions. What other spot so fitting for their last resting place as this, under the shadow of the Capitol, saved by their valor? Here, where the grim edge of battle joined. Here, where all the hope and fear and agony of their country centered. Here, let them rest, asleep on the nation's heart, entombed in the nation's love.